But first up, Kate Herbert is in the studio in the hot seat, and she's going to talk to us about two shows she's been to see: K-Box, which was at the Malthouse, and Bed and Breakfast at Chapel of Chapel. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
So tell us about, so you're going to start with Bed and Breakfast?
Yeah, I will. I'll start with Bed and Breakfast, which is a play, a two-hander written by a Canadian playwright called Mark Crawford, who is very excited, it seems, that it's being done in Australia, but he was acquainted with Ben Noble, who is producing it, and he's one of the actors. So there's Ben Noble and another actor called Alex Thew, who play the central characters, Brett and Drew, but they also play every other character on stage. So they are playing, I'd say they're playing about a dozen characters each, or, perhaps 20 plus between them. And I have to tell you that at the end of the show, at their curtain call, it's 2 hours with a break, as they came up for their curtain call, I had this fleeting moment of, so where are the other actors? Just that little flicker of, there should be more people on stage taking this curtain call because of this parade that they had played. It was extraordinary. So that alerts you to the fact that it is a feat, a virtuoso feat of performance, because they are flicking from one character to another.
On stage?
On stage,
oh, wow.
rapidly. They don't leave the stage, or they wander around the back of a little bit of transparent set briefly, but they're on stage for the first, it's an hour, then the second half is about 50 minutes, I suppose. So it's 2 hours in total with a break. Directed by Tom Healy, deftly, inventively, fabulously. He's a wonderful director. But let me tell you what it's about. I've realised it's called Bed and Breakfast, so you can guess, I suppose. They've transported it to a Victorian country town, whereas it's written in Canada. So these two gay men, who knows what age, 30s or something, I suppose, they have come from Melbourne, a city slicker life, leading a groovy life in Melbourne, and they move to this country town where Brett's auntie Maggie has died and left him this rambling old family mansion. And they go there thinking they'll fix it up and sell it. It's a year in their lives, and they are renovating the entire time because they decide at one point in this dialogue between them to turn it into a B&B. God bless their little cotton socks. I mean, really, what a task. So Brett's a designer. Drew works in hotels, etc. They think they can do it. It's a breeze. What they haven't thought about is how they will deal with this new community in a country town where Brett's family is. He knows his family from there. But he's come back as an adult with his male partner. And he's nervous about letting people know. And Drew's really irate that he won't just go, the partners, this is it. And they suffer some indignities of anti-gay graffiti on their house, a lot of other people who are wonderful. So the characters that they play, in the blink of an eye, they're not even changing costumes. Occasionally a jacket goes on and off. They're just shifting attitude and accent. This is a really tough performance to do, and they pull it off. It is fast, it's tight, it's pacey, it's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And it opens, before it starts, there's a voiceover saying, we're warning this show includes numerous outrageous gender and racial stereotypes and etc. Various other things. It was just, satirical and funny. So the characters they perform include Cody, the absolutely inarticulate teenage boy, who's some sort of cousin nephew. His dad, who's Doug, the gruff builder, who's doing the work on their development. Dustin, who's this cake-making, stammering, but emerging gay boy who's so happy to have some older male role models. Harold, the elderly neighbour. Alison, who's a shop owner, and her partner, who's an Irish woman called Chris, and their mum and dad, and this goes on. And there are town meetings where they play everybody, and then there's a Santa Christmas parade, and it is laugh out loud funny and clever and so enjoyable and very pretty to look at. Beautiful lighting by Bronwyn Pringle and a very stark design by Sam Diamond, representing this shell of a house, which becomes a bit glitzy by the end. So I can't say more than, it's just fun, but with some really moving, poignant moments, because we find out there's a revelation about Brett's relationship to Auntie Maggie, which I won't explain. It goes till the 18th of September. I hope someone goes to see it because it's lovely. It's got these gentle community moments. It's about community, not just about their story. It's about people loving and hating, people dealing with change and acceptance and difference and diversity and all those sorts of things are underlying. But over the top of that is this, rollicking, fun, laugh-filled show. So really enjoyed it, and I couldn't recommend it any more. Really.
So Chapel of Chapel
in the loft, the little space at the loft.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's about a 60-seat space, I think, not the big one. I don't know how it's booking at the moment, but get in there. You'll be quite close to the action wherever you're sitting. So yeah, I'd just book it. Go and see
Chapel on the website.
Yeah.
And so tell us about K-Box.
Okay, so our other is quite a different show and a different company too, because it's the Malthouse Theatre. So it's produced by the Malthouse, whereas Bed and Breakfast is produced by the actor, one of the actors himself. So this is written by a writer, and I believe this woman, Ra Chapman, this is her first play. Whether it's her first ever or first produced, I'm not certain. It's directed by Bridget Belodis, and it's called K, the initial K, Box. You think about K-pop and think about box. Those two things come into this entire story. There's a big cardboard box and there's K-pop. K-pop is Korean pop music, for those who don't know.
It's very popular with the kids.
Yes, very popular. There's sort of boy bands, there's sort of pretty boy bands with, dyed hair and, pouting at the camera and posing, etc. Yeah. There's a bit of that going on momentarily in this. Pardon me. It's a story about a young woman who has lived with her parents, Australian parents, in a country town, and she grew up there, but she's now 34 years old, and she's been gone quite a while, living with a partner, presumably in town, working, don't know what sort of work, etc. But she's arrived on her parents' doorstep, unannounced, surprise, after several years. Now, she is a Korean adoptee. So she was a Korean baby, a toddler. She was older. She was 4 when she was adopted by this couple in non-Korean, non-Asian, in this country town. So she lived in this isolated country town. So there's something connects it with Bed and Breakfast here, but different story altogether. The parents are delighted to see her. Mum is Shirley Maud Davey, who I think is one of the most extraordinary actors we have. I've been watching her for decades.
Yeah, she's very good.
Wonderful. George is Sid Brisbane, also a terrific actor. And they have some really very funny repartee, which is written very nicely in the first sections by Ra Chapman, with Lucy, the daughter, when she arrives. They're so happy to see this daughter. They're open arms. They're bereft of ideas about how to cheer her up because she is despondent, verging on depressed, totally disoriented. So I enjoyed a lot of things about it, that witty, funny writing between the parents, the pace, the performance by Maud Davey, particularly beautiful, moving piece about when she adopted the child towards the end. Lucy keeps getting into this giant cardboard box that she had in her childhood with playthings, but what we discover is this scribble inside it is a Korean character, which means home or house. She used to call it chippy, chippy. They always thought it was a ship. It's the Korean that she remembered as a child. We find out about halfway. I don't think this is a real spoiler. I haven't given you the ending. A young Korean man, K-pop star, appears in this isolated country town. Who knows why? No tourist attractions. Purple hair, posing, pouting, as I said. And he brings out in her attachment to her past in Korea, her early life. It just lacks nuance and shape, and it doesn't quite dovetail together the styles, the characters, the narrative, and the racial identity issues. It's a little bit clunky, but it's interesting. It's worth looking at.
Excellent. So Kate Herbert there. K-Box is at the Malthouse and Bed and Breakfast at Chapel of Chapel, and we'll hear from Kate next week. 2 weeks. Excellent. You are listening to Arts Weekly on 3MBS.